Well, thanks for having me. Yes, I think that ASPs are going to be important, and the few moving pieces that we really have to remember when it comes to ASPs, right? Yes, they have introduced these higher ASP and higher end SKUs that have some amazing functionality, and that's absolutely true. But you have to remember they're comping a year last year where you had huge stimulus checks in the pockets of consumers, and it was a very unusually high skew towards ASPs last year, which was an unusual event. So we are actually comping that. That's number one. Number two, they had a staggered launch of iPhones last year. So that changes some of the seasonality and the mix and sort of what was available, what was not available. And that has an impact on ASPs too. So I think in the big scheme of things, we have to be cognizant that despite some of these increased ASP offers that they do have in the marketplace, they're also putting in an iPhone 11 at $499, which is super capable. So if you're thinking about new users coming into the ecosystem, that might be an attractive price points for them. Carrier subsidies, sure, they were there last year too. Maybe on the margin, they're slightly better this year, but you also have some headwinds to consider in terms of those ASPs.
Joanna, you know what else I think is interesting here? The front-facing camera is the Cinderella of personal tech, right? Like the rear-facing camera was the wicked stepsister who was getting all the play and the higher features. But now the front-facing camera, both in these iPads and in the phones, I think to some degree, is getting that same quality and even that wide-angle feature that allows the camera to follow you. And I wonder how much of this is product development coming out of COVID, where more and more companies, Apple in particular, are realizing, hey, we want to look good.
Yeah, I'm wondering who the Wicked Witch is. We'll figure that out with maybe the next product launch. But I think you're totally right. And they also announced yesterday iOS 15 is going to launch on Monday, on September 20th. And for people who have older iPhones, you get a whole new software stack there, which includes new FaceTime features, which really just proves that like everyone on their iPhones was using on their iPhones during the pandemic was using FaceTime. And Apple's bringing a lot of those features from Zoom and WebEx and Facebook to FaceTime.
Yeah, and Wamsi, just looking beyond the iPhone itself to the Apple Watch, we did get a little bit more insight into how Apple's continuing to invest in fitness and health. What do you see coming down the line there, and how does that impact your outlook for those devices?
Yeah, Julia, look, I mean, it's interesting, right? They started the show with sort of Apple TV Plus. Focus on services and broadening out the ecosystem is super critical to Apple. We all know that. We think there should have been maybe more sensor integration within these devices, potentially in the Apple Watch. We think down the road we're going to see temperature sensors, possibly in AirPods. You're going to get blood pressure and blood sugar monitoring. And these are all coming down the road, and they're all going to tighten this ecosystem. But I think what's also important here to keep in light is that this focus on services has to be looked through a lens of these amazing services and platforms that Apple is building, but also the risks that are there that are emerging from either the Google DOJ lawsuit or with the Epic thing, which is pretty much in limbo right now, but can create a real headwind to both the multiple and the growth in the near term.